thank you for choosing to sit in on this breakout session. My name is Itzel Gomez. I'm absolutely thrilled to be moderating this panel. It's entitled Empowering the Next Generation, Youth Employment for Environmental Impact. This is a particularly special moment for me as I look back on the path that has brought me here. 5 years ago, I was just starting my career. I had recently joined Earth Team as an environmental educator, and I vividly remember coming to the Watershed Symposium for the first time. So it's really incredible to be able to stand here in front of you and reflect on the path that has brought me here. I'm now working as the environmental program analyst with the city of San Pablo, which is a city that I grew up in. So I'm progressing in my career, so I'm excited to present to you all these panelists who are working with youth throughout the county and inspiring a lot of young minds. So we've gathered a group of passionate change makers, and we're going to be diving into a topic that's really close to my heart, which is youth empowerment and for environmental impact. Our esteemed panelists represent organizations that are on the front line of empowering the next generation of environmental stewards. We have folks from Yes Nature to Neighborhoods, the Watershed Project, Urban Tilth, and Family Harvest Farm. So these folks are the driving force behind career development and environmental programs that not only develop or equip young minds with essential skills, but also ignite a fire for positive change in these communities. So throughout the discussion, you're going to be hearing stories of resilience, creativity, dedication, and we're going to delve into some of the challenges that they've faced, the successes that have left a lasting impact, and invaluable lessons they've learned, and most importantly, the envisions that they hold for a greener tomorrow. So today's all about celebrating the incredible work that these organizations are doing and the remarkable individuals behind it. So with that being said, let's get started. I'd like to start off by giving each of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and share a little bit about their roles at their respective organizations. So starting off with Vencel Alfred at Yes Nature to Neighborhoods. Go ahead.
Thank you, Itzel. Thank you all for being here. My name is Vencel Alfred. I am the Camden Community Fellows Coordinator at Yes Nature Neighborhoods. All those words mean I'm a youth development coordinator typically for high school teens. We describing how we got into this. So my background, I got a Bachelor of Science at Sacramento State University. I got into the recreation administration field as a youth and adult sports. I did not see myself doing so much environmental studies, but growing up my friends used to call me Nature Boy. I did a lot of fishing on the Delta, so Nina's story really rung home with me. I used to fish in the McCullough River. I came back home to the Bay Area after spending 20 years in Sacramento after graduation, and started working with East Bay Regional Park District, who I see a lot of representation in the building right now. And through them, I met Blanca Hernandez over at Yes, got on with Yes, and here I am. I'm like getting youth to fall in love with nature and water and waterways and watersheds and connections, and having them, build that love so they can start their stewardship and advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vencel. Next, we have Bremirez from the Watershed Project.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Ann with the Watershed Project. My current role is the program director there, and I've been with the Watershed Project about 6 years now. I started as a Climate Corps AmeriCorps fellow there, as doing environmental education with K through 12 students, and then kind of worked my way into a few different roles. One of the programs that we're highlighting on this panel today is our Green Collar Corps program, which is a youth employment program for youth ages 17 to 24, and it is a paid program, so we'll get into more details, but if you hear me talking about Green Collar Corps or GCC, that's what I'm referencing.
And next we have Solwazi Allah from Urban Tilth.
Hey, Hey everybody, I'm Solwazi Allah. I work for Urban Tilth in the Watershed program. I'm the field crew manager, and I've been working there for 3 years now. I started in the Basins of Relations apprenticeship. Some of the current and past apprentices are here today supporting, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that program and my journey to where I am now. Kind of started when I was a kid, just being exposed to nature, fishing with my grandpa, and then at Berkeley High, I was a part of the Green Academy, and then I majored in environmental studies at the University of California, Santa Cruz. So I've kind of followed that path, followed that passion through my life, and it's brought me to where I am today.
Thanks, Solwazi. And next we have Mary Cherry from Family Harvest Farm.
Thanks. Hi, Mary Cherry. I'm the farm manager at Family Harvest Farm.
Yeah, if you could describe a little bit about your career journey and your role at your organization.
Yes, so I'm the farm manager, and I've been there since the beginning, even before it was a program. It was just an idea. And how I sort of ended up here was we employ transition age foster youth. And I aged out of foster care myself when I was 18. I was in foster care for 10 years. And I became homeless at some point and found myself at the Homeless Garden Project in Santa Cruz. Found that it was really empowering for me to be a part of my food system and know where it comes from. And found community for the first time and really wanted to work with youth, particularly foster youth, to hopefully, ideally, give them that same sense of purpose. And now I'm here, working, doing it.
Right, thank you, Mary. So give it up for our panelists. This first question I'm going to direct towards Mary and Solwazi. So if you could describe the key components and unique strategies that your youth programs employ to engage, educate, and empower the next generation of land and water stewards.
I guess since I have the microphone, I'll go first. Well, we're a workforce development program for transition age youth 18 to 24 with experience in the foster care system. We partner with other programs who work specifically with that demographic. Our core collaborators are First Place for Youth, Independent Living Skills, Youth Homes, and Pacific Clinics, and they've been with us since we started the program, helping us develop the program itself and our business plan. Since then, we've also adopted other partners. They refer the youth to us and offer wraparound services such as counseling and housing and other supports that they may need to be successful. Through working on our urban farm in Pittsburgh, we teach young people entering the working world practical and vocational skills and on-the-job skills in farming, but not just your regular kind of farming. We really focus on regenerating the land and teaching them how to have a reciprocal relationship and not just take, but also give. And then we also teach them the soft skills like communication skills, teamwork, problem solving, accountability, and adaptability. And then on top of that, we teach them job-seeking skills such as resume writing, cover letter writing, preparing for interviews, and identifying their next job. Apprentices receive a high level of support in identifying and executing transition plans based on their next employment or educational goals. Although it's always great to see them go on to some environmental work, but that's not our main goal. Our main goal is just to see them be independent, particularly financially independent. And then the education piece that I was talking about earlier, particularly around the job seeking and helping them transition into the next employment, we partner with other individuals and organizations who help with that education piece, such as Opportunity Junction, Health Career Pathways, Master Gardeners, and we also work with a nutrition specialist, Karen Maggio, to teach about nutrition because we have a kitchen, and we eat lunch together every day at the farm with the food that we grow. I think the other part is we give a lot of our food away to the local community. We are in a USDA designated food desert, which means that there's just not as much produce per person, and to get to the store, it's 2+ miles away. And so we have a farm stand at the farm where we give a lot of our produce away, and the youth get to be a big part of that, which is really great because a lot of them themselves have experienced food insecurity. And the apprentices get to help grow and distribute the produce. And also we have workshops where the apprentices get to engage the community around whatever it is, wreath making, seed saving, salve making. And yeah. Sorry, I feel like I talked a lot.
Oh, good. You just repeat the question so I know.
Of course. What are some of the, what was the question? What are some of the key components and unique strategies that you use to engage and educate the youth in your program?
Okay, yeah. So the Watershed program, we kind of have 2 separate programs that we provide to the community. The one that I'm mainly leading is the Summer Youth Apprenticeship Program. So it's for pretty much high school aged youth in the surrounding area, so San Pablo, Richmond, Pinole, and trying to just focus on that local community, providing that resource to people who necessarily don't have access to that otherwise. And so the focus is to teach them or introduce them to the environmental field, to local ecology, to concepts like environmental justice, and bring up these conversations that they might not be having in school. Also, a big focus is just introducing them to natural spaces. Living in an urban place, you may not even be aware of some of the more hidden natural spaces, the creeks that are running through Richmond. And so it can be really eye-opening for those youth to be introduced to those spaces, introduced to the plants and the animals that are really in their own backyard that they never knew were there. And then the other program, the Basins of Relations program, shout out all my homies over there. That's the program that I went through coming out of college. It's basically for people 18 and up. The summer program is a 6-week program, and this program is a little longer. It's 18 weeks. It's more in depth, similar concepts though, and going on field trips, going out to the creeks and doing restoration work, invasive plant removal, doing propagation in our native plant nursery, and just being exposed to all these things. And a lot of the people coming into the program, like, they might not have that background. I came in with that background. Like, I went to school and I had that lifelong connection, but not everybody has that and not everybody needs that. And it's actually almost more impactful for people who have never had that connection, and it's just eye-opening, and it might bridge that gap and open up a career path for them. So it's been really life-changing for me, and I know for all my coworkers it has been also.
Thank you. All right, this next question related to recruitment and retention, I'll direct to Ann and Vencel. So if you could both talk about the approaches or strategies that you have found most effective in not only attracting newcomers to the environmental field, but also in retaining their participation and commitment within your program.
Sure. So yeah, our program is very similar to what Solwazi does with Urban Tilth in a lot of ways, in that we're trying to open up this pathway to the environmental field to folks who may not have always seen that as a pathway that's accessible or obtainable. So low-income young people, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We notice as an environmental organization that oftentimes we're doing work in communities, and the folks in those communities are not always the ones doing this work. And because the pathways into the environmental field are so often through, unpaid internships or, kind of a low living stipend or something to that effect. And so it's really important to us that we, pay a livable wage, and we have a flexible schedule that students can come to us while they're, still pursuing their education or taking classes. They can, earn an income while they're doing that. They can gain experience and training while they're doing that. And so I think with that in mind, kind of our target audience for recruitment is, folks who are really local to the communities where we work. We do some work that's Contra Costa County-wide. We have a couple of programs that are in schools in Oakland or San Francisco, but our organization's home base is in Richmond and in West Contra Costa County. So that's primarily where we look for recruitment. We partner with community colleges like Contra Costa College. We partner with other organizations who are working in the same area to try to get the word out. We've started kind of reaching out to local high schools as well, so that, students, this is something they can kind of start thinking about in the future, something that they might want to come into, and just try to, explore all ways of reaching people who, may not really be thinking about a job in the environmental field necessarily, but it might be something they're interested in if they know it exists. And in terms of retention, our program is currently structured to be kind of a one-year program with the option of renewal for a second year. If students, like it, it's still valuable. And in that second year with us, the goal is to kind of deepen their leadership of the program. So I want to shout out, we have two of our GCC members here with us today who are just entering their second year with us, Zach, who you heard from earlier, and Ellie. So feel free to talk to them more if you want to hear more about their experience in the program. But with that, I'll let Vencel talk a little bit.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you for the prompt, Itzel. So yeah, to not repeat what has been so much said, because a lot of this stuff overlaps, like the Richmond aspect, the underserved communities aspect, the BIPOC aspect, a lot of that stuff overlaps. So I'm gonna try to be as fruitful as possible with the time that I have. So at Yes Nature Neighborhoods, we're right across the street from Nickel Park in the heart of Richmond. And we have a youth leadership pathway that starts with when folks are 8 years old, that goes on to the 18 and beyond, because now we have a young adult program and adult program as well. But back to the heart of the matter is we're instilling these values in these folks at that early age, whether it's whatever they can digest. For our 8 to 10-year-old group, we're not, going into details on how, invasive speech. Well, we may go there, but, we're not doing too much. It's age-appropriate education. And then once they get to 10 to 13, there's a Richmond Rangers program, which is also in partnership with the East Bay Regional Park District, where they go really in depth into the Leave No Trace and various aspects. And then once they get to our teen program, and especially into mine, the one prior to mine is more based on nutrition and health, but mine is an environmental aspect. And one of the things that we do is we try to keep that impassion, that fire that was lit, or if they're new, to light that new fire and give them information on environmental injustice, whether it's here or it's the oil plants in Louisiana that's getting everybody cancer. So they'll know that, this is a matter that I can get passionate about, and that they don't have to be, as powerful and slapping everybody around like Greta is, one of my idols, but that their voices can still be there. And and instilling that love and instilling that passion, that's what can keep them going and keep doing what they're doing, and in turn, helping to educate the community. Like our C3 program is a program where these 16 to 18-year-olds are ingesting all this information, advocacy, and stewardship, but they're also, part of it is to in turn give that information back to the community. So Yeah, I would say, and also make stuff fun for them. I like to run my mouth, and I told them yesterday, we had our kickoff last night, I'm like, I know you guys want to come here every Wednesday and listen to me run my mouth about getting all nerdy about the environment in San Pablo Creek and how we're going to save it. So I invite them, like, use your agency, give me ideas, like, what can we do? Send me a text or email at random, you know, but site, and also doing education on site also helps, like doing like, we're going to be doing like little mini bio blitzes, like right under the dam at Kennedy Grove Park or right on the site at El Patel near Dam Road. You know, keeping it interesting for them can also help them, you know, engage them and keep them retained.
Thank you, Vencel and Ann. So many of these programs rely on secure and reliable funding. So I wanted to direct Ann this question, being the program manager, director, forgot your title, sorry. But if you could share some of the key challenges and successes your organization has encountered in securing and maintaining funding for your youth programs, and additionally, what are some of the trends that you've observed in funding sources that support these initiatives?
Sure. So I think this question is coming to me because personally I've been involved with trying to fundraise for this program for the last 5 years, and I have noticed some pretty significant changes in that time. I know that when I went out to try to start writing grants for the Green Collar Corps program in 2018, not a lot of funders were biting at the idea of youth employment, and it really makes me think about what Jen was talking earlier about kind of a devaluation of maintenance, because oftentimes that's what these programs are seen as, right? It's like just people kind of doing work, stewarding systems, taking care of things that already exist. So we had to be creative and fund the program by fundraising for projects that were the shiny new thing, right? We're going to install a new garden, we're going to plant a bioswale, we're going to build something, and we're going to, sneakily like get some youth employed to do that with us. Education programs were another way that we could, do that. And my organization has a lot of branches that does a lot of different type of work. And so we often talk about kind of bucket funding, where we're going for the branch of what we do that is the most successful in kind of the current fundraising trends, and use that to sneakily kind of sneak in these other priorities. I've noticed that change in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of our programs on the stage can kind of credit this new trend of really valuing youth employment and training programs. I'm seeing more and more opportunities open up that want to fund that line of work specifically. I will say that fundraising in general, we all know, has its challenges. Things like grants only come often in 1-year cycles, maybe 2 or 3 if we're lucky. And so, and of course we want to keep these programs going beyond that, so we'll have to kind of constantly be looking for new sources. They may come with sort of some restrictions or just administrative burden in terms of reporting. So I think that pattern, goes beyond fundraising for youth programs specifically. And I think I've noticed some of that changing too, though. I am noticing more funders kind of trying to make grant applications and grant processes more accessible to smaller organizations that may not have as much experience grant writing, that they're trying to kind of lower that administrative burden. They're trying to provide more funding for longer cycles. So I just really hope to see some of these trends continue, because it's been hopeful, for me to kind of see the changes in the last few years.
Thanks, Ann. All right, we're going to bring it back to Solwazi and Mary. So a lot of these programs aren't without their challenges. Solwazi and Mary, if you could talk a little bit about what some of the challenges or primary challenges that you've encountered trying to make your program succeed. And in that same vein, what does success look like for you for your programs?
I would say one of the challenges for the summer youth program is that we're getting them straight out of the end of the school year. And so, like kids in school. And so they're like, yeah, I'm on summer break now, and we're trying to educate them still. So, trying to find a balance of like, we're gonna teach you some things, we're gonna sit down and show you some slides or have you read some informational things, but we're also gonna do some hands-on stuff. We're gonna go to new places, we're gonna get our hands dirty and play with new tools, and so, yeah, just finding that balance and keeping the youth engaged can sometimes be a challenge, but I think the more, like, the longer we go and the more they realize that the work is important and the stuff that they're learning is interesting and relevant to the environment around them, usually that engagement increases and we don't have any trouble kind of getting through to them. And I would say in terms of successes, just sparking that passion and just seeing them engage and get excited and like start to ask questions is like a huge indicator of like, okay, we're doing our job. Like they're actually interested and they want to know more, and they're pushing the envelope on their own. Also, like, we have the opportunity for the summer youth to come back for a second year to be a staff apprentice, to take on more responsibility and share what they learned with the new youth. And so that's always cool to see people come back or to share with their friends. Like we've had youth share with their friends and they'll come the next year and they're like, yeah, they said this program was so amazing, and like just getting that feedback is always so special for me. So that's definitely like, it gives that vibe of success.
Well, yeah, I'll start with challenges too. I would say that the demographic that we work with is a very traumatized population. And when you've constantly been moving around your whole life, experiencing trauma after trauma after trauma, it's really hard to imagine showing up to a place and being working on like what you're gonna do rather than just how you're gonna survive and just have your basic needs met. And so recruitment and retention is probably our biggest challenge, because we work with such a population with so many barriers. But the farm in itself is a really special place in that we get to all have that same experience together. It offers a sense of belonging and safety that you don't really get in an environment where everybody has different backgrounds. And so I think that's really special. I would say that is a success. And then I would say the other challenge is that we are a farm, but our main thing is a workforce development program. And our program is a year-long program with a possibility of being there for 2 years if they really like it and they want to maybe pursue career in farming. But because we're having so many people come and go, we don't really have any skilled laborers except for myself, and we have hired a former apprentice who has now been there for 3 years as a farm manager assistant, which has been really great, but we're still a farm, and I'm finding that I'm constantly being pulled from, sorry, I don't need that anymore. I'm constantly being pulled from, this is a farm, but this is also a workforce development program. And I have 2 jobs. And the good thing is that right now we aren't so stuck with having to sell our produce, which would be really tricky because making a crop plan in the beginning of the year and following it through with laborers who are constantly coming and going, and I'm constantly having to teach, is very complicated. And so we get to have a lot of leeway by giving our produce away. But one day we do hope to be able to sell more produce, become a little bit more financially stable. But I would say that my hope and dream for this program is that our youth, we've actually had 4 apprentices graduate and go on to urban farms, which is really awesome. And we've had apprentices go on to nursing school and construction. So that's been really great. I think that the biggest success, though, is to see them feel like they can make change by making change in themselves. They can make change in their environment and the people around them, and then feel like they can be more stable in the community, and ideally be able to become financially stable, because a lot of them are coming to work knowing that when they turn 21, they're going to lose all their services. And they're going to have to pay for their own housing, and they're going to have to pay for their own therapy if they need it, which we all do. Everyone does. And so that's a lot to carry with you. And it's a scary place to be, and they're all about to be there if they're not already.
Yeah, kind of to build off of that, moving into our based on the relations program with the older folks, you get into that territory of like people need housing, people need money, like people might have children, they need to feed themselves. And so like with the high school youth, they're mostly taken care of. They obviously have their own challenges and situations, but for the older folks, like they need more resources and they need more support. And so to do a program like that and give your time, it can just be a challenge to make sure you're supporting folks in the right way and not just like taking away their time and that they could be doing something else or working another job or another 2 jobs. And so as the program has progressed and just trying to build it up, finding ways to raise the wages, finding ways to increase our contracts so there's more work, there's more hours for our crew, and then being able to retain the apprentices afterwards has been amazing. So I was able to stay on with the permanent year-round field crew, and all of my other coworkers, they went through the program as well and were able to stay on to do that restoration work year-round. And so that's been amazing. Just huge gratitude to all the funders that we have. East Bay Regional Parks is one of our contracts, City of Albany, Contra Costa County as well. We've done work with them in the past, and just allowing us to continue that work and keep these local young people employed so that they can do something that they're passionate about, they can care for their environment, but they don't have to like give up their own financial stability, their own peace of mind, and just put themselves in a bad situation.
Thank you. All right, so something that all of these programs have in common is their focus on teaching folks about the environment, but oftentimes the learning goes far beyond that. So Vencel and Anne, could you describe the key knowledge or skills that you aim for individuals in your programs to gain and develop?
Thank you. Just to touch on one thing real quick at the question Ann answered. If anybody out here is looking to start any of these programs, a lot of times grants have prerequisites and their time and all this stuff, but having evaluations built into your programs, like during the program, like not after, like not scan this QR code and send this back to us, or self-addressed stamped envelope, or even gas money to bring this back to the office. No, build it into your program to get evaluation and keep really good tabs on tracking your deliverables. But to answer the question I was asked, that kind of threw me off, but we'll get there. One thing we want them to establish is the understanding of the fact that there are careers around this. And my colleague at the end of the panel mentioned earlier, like that's not the be-all, end-all for you to work in the outdoor education field. It's not. We want you, first of all, to be self-sustainable as an adult, and but we do want to provide you the tools and the avenues if you do want to go that route, and let you know that there is a career in this. Like, look at all these folks in here. So we want to introduce them to like mentors and have them come through. Ann's been by, Paul has been by. There's other people in here, I'm sure that have come through, and basically like putting the youth around these folks to let them know, oh, this is a person coming here to speak to me. I forget your name, I'm sorry, but folks from the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District have come through and have, presented to our group, who was like, and they spoke on stuff that's right along on up their alleyway as far as like what they're focusing on right now. We want to acknowledge that their voice matters. A lot of times youth, or especially youth of color in underserved communities, might not understand that they do have a voice. There's culturally, not within the culture, but in the culture of the United States, where they're taught that their voice won't matter. We got to have that unlearning occur. We want them comfortable with programs and tools like iNaturalist that's also connected to the whole conservation lands, the whole aspect of getting, urban areas protected. That's a huge thing. Like I say, the love of nature will start all that and be the catalyst for all this going forward. We want them also involved to be comfortable in the vulnerability of public speaking. So we'll have our youth at our public events, where like part of our C3 program, our Coastal Conservation Corps program, where they're presenting to our Richmond community at our public events. And sometimes that might involve a youth translating. So it's give them like cracking all these shells for them to go out and be able to spread their wings. We want them to stand in their power. Let them know that they are powerful individuals. For whatever reason they might not believe that, we want to try to, edge that on and nurture and water that, that seedling. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, I think a lot of overlap because when I was hearing Vencel talk, I was thinking about how part of what we try to do too is provide kind of contextual understanding of this field. So, what types of organizations do this work? What types of careers exist in this field? And we also, bring in guest speakers from, our partner organizations. We might do kind of like joint events or work days with some of these other programs so that, the youth members get to interact with each other, talk about their experiences. They get to talk with other mentors in the environmental field and make those connections. I've had, youth talk to me about how, I heard about, restoration work happening over, in San Francisco or in the, Sacramento area. I had no idea it was happening right here in Richmond. And there were so many organizations doing this work right here in Richmond. I don't have to leave my hometown to, learn to be a landscape architect or whatever. So kind of contextual understanding. Of course, there's certain like content knowledge that our members gain through the program. Things like what are native Olympia oysters and what do they do for the San Francisco Bay? Things like how do we monitor creeks and what do those numbers tell you about the health of the watershed? Things like what are some native plants in this area? What type of care do they need? So all of that, of course, is sort of just the content knowledge that our members gain through the program, both through their work experience and through, kind of dedicated training days, maybe how to work with kids. I think a few of us have mentioned that working in the environmental field is not necessarily the end goal for us. I had a member who went on to, she loved, the part that she loved most with us was teaching young students on field trips and in classrooms, and she went on to study and become an occupational therapist for kids. And so that, it illustrates that also as our members go through this program, they're gaining soft skills, transferable skills that can be used in other fields. Things like showing up to work on time, filling out a timesheet, making sure you're communicating with your coworkers, with your supervisor, things that will be useful and valuable in a number of other fields as well.
Thank you. All right. Next question I'm going to direct to Solwazi and Vencel. I understand that Yes Nature to Neighborhoods and Urban Tilth are set up in ways in which alumni and older youth are able to continue in programming. So if you could both share some instances of individuals who have successfully completed some of your programming and then either went on to pursue academic studies in the environmental field or careers or continue to volunteer within the environmental field.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you're a part of my crew, can you raise your hand? So, yeah, so myself included, all success stories. Like I said earlier, each one of those individuals went through the program. Some of them came in with prior knowledge, some of them came in with no knowledge, but were inspired, were motivated to keep tending to the land, tending to the creeks, and carry over that work going forward. So those are like firsthand examples, and yeah, we're blessed to be able to do this work year round, to continue to like build our knowledge of native ecology, to gain skills through our partnerships with other organizations, and yeah.
Right on. For the youth, we gotta clap it up for the youth. As Carl and Paul said from, excuse me, from the Rise Center and Youth that the youth are the stewards of our future. Yes, we've had some of our folks that come through our program. We have a kind of built-in, like, keeping them engaged, keeping them, involved in outdoor activities. Process where they go, if they go off to college, they're welcome to come back as be trip leaders, which means they're getting paid a significant amount of money. As Itzel knows, Itzel is one of our trip leaders, not that she graduated from our program, but Itzel was one of our trip leaders who, another mentor, like when they come back, there's someone there that can help them along, teach them the ropes of, how to lead a group, how to manage a hike, these sort of things, and just being professional in the field. There's also a matter of some that they may stay and go to DVC or go to CC or go to one of the Peralta colleges, BCC or Laney or Alameda, and they can, if they're still here, they can be a peer advocate, which is our internal internship that we have that works closely with me, and and that's where the part where Ann says it comes in, that they're learning how to do these soft skills, like, hey, I have to ask them, did you give me your timesheet for this, this pay period, and whatnot. So along with the trip leaders, that we have one of our youth who's come through our program, who's now on our board of directors, Justin. We have one that graduated, went to Sonoma State, came back, and now he's working with the Richmond Rangers program that's connected with East Bay Regional Park District. So once they go through and they have all these soft skills, all these opportunities are not, they're not something that they can't approach or that they feel they can't do, because they've seen, coming through the program, they've seen their predecessors being those trip leaders, coming back and being those peer advocates. So as they're coming through, these little ones are seeing them now, looking up to the big kids, especially now that we have a full 8 to 18 youth leadership pathway. They're seeing the older groups when they go to the program, and the older groups are, while they're teens, being teen staff at our winter camp for 3 days. Or they see them when they go to summer camp, oh, I know this person, they're from Yes. So, and then even when I was with the East Regional Park District, one of the kids from Yes came over to work for there. And when I was camp director there for the co-op program, he came through Yes and was a recreation leader. So it's a lot of, and like we say, like we really just want them to be able to be successful and be able to survive in our society. But it's really nice to see, and it's intrinsically valuable to see these folks continue their passion. And last story is this person who was in my C3 program. She was going to John Swett High School out in Crockett, and she was so impassioned by the work that we were doing with the C3 program that she decided she wanted to start a nature club at her school. And they met at lunch. She had a group about 10, 15 people, had a very supportive faculty there. And she invited me to come speak one day. So, the baby steps, and the giant steps or the giant leaps, depending on your perspective, all that stuff matters, especially when it comes to our youth.
All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to direct this question to everyone on the panel. Given that there's so many young people in the crowd today, which I'm very happy about, could you all share a little bit about some advice or insight that you'd offer to anyone who's new to the environmental field, especially to any young individuals who are here, who are thinking about embarking on a journey in this field? Whoever wants to start.
If you're here, that's a huge step. You're on the right track. And I would say there's a lot of knowledge in this room, not just on the stage, but, I look out and I see a lot of, folks who I've been really fortunate to get to know over my years working in this field, and ask questions about what their job is like, how they got into this field. I don't think I've heard two people tell the same story when I ask that question. And likewise, just, try things out. This field may not be for you, like I was saying, that's okay. I think regardless of whether your profession is in the environmental field, we are all part of the environment and it's part of our lives, regardless of, again, whether that's something we do for work or just something that's part of our lives. So I would say ask questions, get to know people, and try things out.
Sure. Well, I would say there's a lot of different avenues within the environmental field that you can go through. The watershed, restoration, farming, whatever it is, there's so many different ways of helping care for our Mother Earth. And so I guess I liked the ask questions, figure out what your path might be. And know that without the earth, we wouldn't be surviving. So I feel that it's not that you have to take a career path in the environmental field, but it is sort of our responsibility to give back to her what she every day gives to us, our lives. And so I guess I would just stress that. And I do. I get to tell them this all the time. My crew over there. And yeah, that's it.
I would say be as culturally relevant as possible, for one thing. Know your audience, know your demographics, and no training that you see come through your inbox is irrelevant. Whether that training be about working with BIPOC groups or educating yourself on the indigenous properties and indigenous aspects of wherever you are. Any of that can be relevant. So cultural relevancy is very important, I would say. And also, keeping track of what you're doing. I can't stress that enough. I have a program director who's very she's not data driven, but she loves data and she loves to compile stuff. But it makes it easier to whatever grant you're writing, because at the end, you get the stuff and then, okay, let's do all this stuff. But at some point, you gotta, it's like, oh gosh, and I get all these, okay, Vencel, what about this? Can you give me figures for this? So keep good record keeping, so when that time comes, it's like, oh, you want what? Here you go.
I would say that if you care about the environment, like if that's one of your core values, to stand on that and let that passion carry you into your work. I think coming out of college, I wasn't really expecting to be able to do something fulfilling. A lot of people just end up with a job that they have to take because they don't necessarily have another choice, or they don't feel like they have another choice. But I was lucky enough to stumble upon this, and it aligned with what I care about and my lifelong passions. And so I've been able to have that overlap and feel good about the work that I'm doing every day. And that makes it easy to come to work. It doesn't feel like a burden, and I can just feel good every day about what I'm doing and the impact I'm having on the planet and my community. And also just to know that there's value in this work. Like, you hear about all this volunteering, which is amazing, but you don't have to work for free. Like, the planet matters, and you should get paid for that. So yeah, just know that there's value in that, and don't sell yourself short, and just do free labor, because that's the trend. The planet matters, and yeah, you should be paid for that.
If I could just say one more thing, let's clap that up again, because I was gonna say, before he came with that gem, when the speaker was up here prior, and there's that dilemma of volunteer versus pay as much as you can, especially your young people, because sometimes we pay them for showing up to meetings, but there's a sensibility in that. If the grant, if there's allocations that can be put towards paying them for their time, try to do it so as much as possible. It's worth it. Make it work, and make it worth it for them.
All right, folks, thank you so much. Thank you to all the panelists. This was a very meaningful discussion, and it's been a great conversation about empowering the next generation. And I hope everyone's walking away feeling inspired. I wanted to, before we wrap up, just give a big shout out to everyone who's organized the Watershed Symposium. It's been awesome to come back 5 years later after my first symposium and being able to recognize a lot of people in the audience now. So if you're new to the field, make sure you're networking and connecting with folks here, because you never know who might be your next coworker, colleague, or opportunity to get to collaborate. So thank you, everyone. I know I'm keeping you from lunch, so lunchtime.